And here we are. Here we are again. Yay! Welcome, everyone. We're extremely cheerful here after over a week of intense smoke from forest fires. We had the blessing of rain, and I got to tell you, it's so incredible to see the rhododendrons and the azaleas and the other plants that were literally lying on the ground now up. And so I hope this service does that to you. And one way it'll help is we have the sweet goodbyes here today.
Well, good morning, everybody. I'm so excited to have my friend Lisa Harmon with us today. Feel free to stand up and sing into this day with us. Take me to the water and I'll dive right in. I'm ready to let go of everything that's been. I said, take me to the mountain and I'll climb on up. From the highest peak, beauty's gonna fill my cup. I say yes, I say yes. I know all is well. I say yes, yes, I say yes. I say yes, yes, knowing all is well. I say yes, I say yes. I say yes, 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 knowing all is well. I say yes, I say yes. I know all is well. I say throw routine right out the door. When I'm scared, I know it leads me to something more. Widen my gaze and see all there is. Take a leap of faith, I'm gonna find that bliss. I say yes, I say yes. I know all is well. All right, let's sing yes. I say yes, yes, say yes. I say yes, yes, knowing all is well. I say yes, I say yes. I say yes, 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 knowing all is well. I say yes, I say yes. I know all is well. I say yes. Come on, you all say yes. We know all is well. I say yes. Well, now we all say yes. We know all is well. Yes, indeed. Good morning. We'll take a minute to greet some of those neighbors out there. If you're on social media, let us know where you're tuning in from today.
Oh my gosh, the babies.
All right, ready? 1, 2, 1, 2. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place welcome here. All right, well, I see we've got kiddos here with us today. And so we do have a really awesome children's program. So if you are a kiddo, these are our teachers up here. I mean, we're all children at heart, I'm sure. But if you're new with us today, feel free to encourage your kids to come up here. And they do a really awesome outdoor program while we are in here having service. So we will sing them out into their classes today. Hooray for the world, I'm glad to be on it. Hooray for the world, I'm glad to be on it. Hooray for the world, it's a special place. We got Mother Nature and the human race. The world's got trees and bumblebees, rivers and lakes and the open seas, mountains and valleys and animals too, and a sun that shines on me and you. Sing hooray for the world, I'm glad to be on it. Hooray for the world, I'm glad to be on it. Hooray for the world, it's a special place. We got Mother Nature and the human race. We got Mother Nature and the human race. All right, you have a wonderful class. We'll see you after service.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Okay, I can't. I'm Deb. I'm a practitioner here at CSL Bellingham, and welcome to all of us. And I invite you to turn your phones off or down, one or the other. And please join me in an opening invocation. I take a breath in, and you can too. And I feel the energy of life rushing through my body. And if I pause there, I can feel, I can hear, but really I can just feel my heartbeat. And in the next breath, if I kind of go below that heartbeat, I can feel that stillness that is there in every single one of us. See if you can find it. And that heartbeat and that stillness are direct manifestation of the one consciousness, spirit, the one that connects us all. We are. Spirit is, I am, you are. We are all a piece of this. The rain, even the smoke that we witnessed, that thankfully has disappeared, is all part of this one that connects us. We are here today to gather into community, to go deeper into the mystery of that one, to take a step forward, the next right step, to put our feet on the next stepping stone of our life. And I'm so full of gratitude for this knowledge, this community, the words that we're about to hear. So grateful for that. And as I speak these words, I know that they are ringing around the universe full of energy. And I say, it is done. I know they are done. And I say, and so it is.
Wisdom of this body. exists in all things. I am listening to the wisdom of this body, and I am honoring the balance that exists in all things. I am listening. I am listening to the wisdom of this body, and I am honoring the balance that exists in all things. Slow my step, move with grace through each breath. I'll find my way. I am listening to the wisdom of this body, and I am honoring the balance that exists in all things. I am listening to the wisdom of this body, and I am honoring the balance that exists in all things. Slow my step, move with grace through each breath. I'll find my way. I am listening to the wisdom of this body, and I am honoring the balance that exists in all things. I am listening to the wisdom of this body, and I am honoring the balance that exists in all things. The balance that exists in all things. The balance that exists. Thank you. Well, Lisa and I have prepared a song that is one that, looking at Andrea's talk title, I never know really where she's going with it. And sometimes maybe what we end up singing, then you weave in and all that. So it's a beautiful dance that we do. But this song is called Can't Go Back Now. It's by one of our favorite bands called the Weepies. And it's kind of really just about being in the here and now. At least that's why we were bringing it to the table here today. So hope you enjoy. Yesterday when you were young, everything you needed done was done for you. Now you do it on your own, but you find you're all alone. What can you do? But you and me walk on, walk on, walk on, 'cause you can't go back now.
It does always dovetail. Just a little rearranging of the talk, and you'll see how it connects. Um, so welcome again. Glad you're here. And we've been talking all month about the places that scare you. And this particular talk is called The In-Between Space. And the quote that goes with it is, "This betwixt and between is sacred space within, in which powerful and profound events can occur, often uninvited." This was written by a pagan person, and I love it because in our tradition, the Science of Mind, I'm going to talk to you today about health, because particularly relates to health, this topic of the betwixt and between. And I'm going to give you the end of the story first, and then I'll go back to it. So the end of the story is this, that we understand that all realities exist at the same time, okay? And that every single reality is possible for any of us. And we actually have very unique realities that are lined up, and we can literally jump reality from one to another by consciously and deliberately inviting it. I love that part because it's completely woo-woo, but not. And it's based in the understanding, of course, of quantum physics and the multiverse and all of that. And how it applies to health and anything else is, let's say you go to your doctor because something's not quite right. And you know it, and so you get your courage up and you go, and the doctor says, "Ooh, yeah, you're right, this isn't right, so I'm going to send you to do these tests." They always do. And so you're doing these tests, and there's this betwixt and between space between the test and what will be a diagnosis. And it's in that gap that powerful things can happen. It's not just that gap, but there's such a potentiality that can be invoked in that time that we as people who really use affirmative prayer know that gap. We know that betwixt and between place, and we love praying into it because in that there's so much ability to shift things where, unexpectedly the doctor reads the results and, "Oh, well, this wasn't what we expected. This is nothing." That's my favorite. Or, "Well, we thought it was cancer, but actually it's not cancer. It's just something we can treat over the counter." I like that one too. And so many more like that. And so betwixt and between also applies to all sorts of other things. Maybe some of you have been betwixt and between relationships. Anybody? Yeah? I'm not seeing hands raised, that's okay. But in that place is the same gap, the same possibilities. And even if for years and years you've been telling yourself, "I have a broken picker. I pick the wrong people every single time," I was careful how I said that. That gap, that place where you're not in a relationship and you would like to have one, is a place to work in for the health of love flowing in a different way. And on it goes, right? So I wanted to bring you, I rarely talk about health like this. I do in classes because it's so pivotal to what we understand the nature of reality to be and what's possible for us. But I thought I would bring out all the heavy hitters here. So I'm going to start with Louise Hay. Louise Hay, if you haven't heard of her, oh my goodness, she died recently. She, in my book, was the incredible manifester of the gap. She began working really diligently with AIDS patients when AIDS was very first coming into our awareness, and people were dying like flies, and they were terrified. And she began to work in the LA basin with people who had AIDS, and fearlessly brought her understanding of the gap of what's possible to them. And so she has a lot to say about health and healing. And I wanted to just bring you one of the things that she said. Let's see. The point of power is in the present moment, right here and now, in our consciousness, our minds. When you were a tiny baby, like Maggie over here, you were pure joy and love. You knew how important you were. You felt you were the center of the universe and made that known. I added that part. You had such courage. You asked for what you wanted, and you expressed all your feelings openly. You loved yourself totally, every part of your body. You knew you were perfect, and that is the truth of your being. This is my favorite line. All the rest is learned nonsense and can be unlearned. So in our tradition, we really do know that we are emanations, creations of the powerful spirit that dwells within all things. The plants, the animals, every single manifest part of the universe is, we believe, spirit. And so our bodies, our minds, everything as we come into this world has to do with being that perfect manifestation of spirit. And then we learn a bunch of nonsense. And it's not that the people who teach us the nonsense are evil people by and large, but rather people that have been indoctrinated in nonsense themselves. And so they continue to tell us about how we're not perfect and how we're not whole. And this is where the gap becomes incredibly important as we grow and develop. And some very fortunate young people never forget their wholeness. They never lose that. And they're wonderful to be around because they just don't apply the norms of nonsense that we all sort of took in. But the rest of us have to unlearn that stuff. And part of the science of mind philosophy is teaching people how to think differently about themselves, about the world, about other people, about what's possible. And it's why I've stayed in this for so long. I started when I was 18. So part of what we understand is that the mind is much more powerful than most of us really appreciate or know, and that it has the capacity to really change reality. And the way that works is there's the ability, since we're connected to spirit and never unplugged from that, there's the ability within us to connect to every possible reality, as I was saying, and then to have the mind believe that a new reality is happening. In medical terms, this is called the placebo effect. But in the science of mind, we call it normal. Normal. That we have the ability to connect to a different reality that's much more advantageous, more healthful, more of everything we desire. But it takes practice because we have all this learned nonsense that we've taken in. And, it gets in the way of our belief, our faith, our understanding that something could be different. And so we work with that through the spiritual path. And actually, most of every single spiritual path that I've been part of and have studied, the underlying, perhaps not spoken, intention is to unlearn the nonsense, to open to spirit and what's possible. So here we are, and to give you a sense of the power of our minds, for good and for bad, Lisa Rankin tells a couple of stories, and I'm going to tell you one of them, and it has to do with voodoo. Now, you may know that voodoo is still practiced in parts of Louisiana and the southern states, and there are voodoo practitioners, and they can be just incredible people that open to the gap so that a new reality can come in. But it's not always that way. Sometimes the understanding of the power of the mind is such that that can be used negatively, whether they understand that or not. And so it happened many years ago that two, two were born, and they were born on the day that was considered the most unfortunate in the voodoo tradition. And the mother was very upset and called in the voodoo, I'm not even sure what they call their sacred people, but one of them to kind of give her some guidance and some help, because this was a bad day to be born. And unfortunately, that person said, oh, they're both going to die before they're 21. This is called voodoo hexing. It's setting up a reality that if you believe in voodoo, you believe that's true. So the mother believed that that was true and conveyed that knowledge to the twins. I'm a mother. I get it. We make mistakes. That mother made a mistake. So the twins grew up dreading their 21st birthday because they knew they were going to die before they reached their 21st birthday. And sure enough, the first twin died when she was 16 of a very mysterious and, not able to be figured out illness. And she was gone in days. So that left the second twin. And the second twin, as you might imagine, was completely freaked out. And so she was going to medical doctors, trying to find a way to not die at 21. And, the medical doctors kind of thought she was crazy because there was nothing wrong with her, nothing wrong at all. But, they didn't have the full story. And so they did tests, and they tried to reassure her, and they put her on anxiety medication, very popular now. And sure enough, the night before her 21st birthday, she died. And this isn't as uncommon as you might think. I mean, that's an extraordinary story, but actually, this stuff happens more than you'd realize. During the AIDS pandemic that was happening, there was a gay man who had been diagnosed with AIDS, and he was in the hospital, and his mother, who was Catholic, sat outside the ICU and prayed that he would die out loud. And during the night, he died. And what the doctor said was there was no reason this young man should have passed away. He didn't have a bad case of it. There were things that they were preparing to help him. But you can't help but wonder if he was hexed by his own mama, right? It doesn't take another person to hex us, though. We do a good job of it sometimes ourselves, right? And so one of the things that another heavy hitter, how many of you read this book? Yeah. If you haven't read this book, this is a very powerful book called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And I would love to tell you all about that, but I don't have time. But he achieved spontaneous enlightenment, which I'm always fascinated by, and kind of hope will happen to me, except he lost everything after that happened. Now he's fine, but I don't want to lose Joe or my children. So I'll accept whatever spirit does. So Tolle, because of this spontaneous enlightenment, coming out of a suicidal depression, this just happened to him, began to teach. And the book is part of his teaching. One of the things that he could see from this spontaneous enlightened state, he could see into the learned nonsense in a very powerful way that we have. And so he started talking about that we all have a pain body. And if you think about it, that's an interesting description. We have a pain body. He says there's two settings for the pain body, dormant and active. But it's never gone. It's either dormant or active. And so what he says about the pain body is this. As long as you're unable to access the power of the now, every emotional pain that you experience leaves behind a residue of pain that lives on in you. It merges with the pain from the past, which was already there, and becomes lodged in your mind and body. This, of course, includes the pain you suffered as a child, caused by the unconsciousness of the world into which you were born. This accumulated pain is a negative energy field that occupies your body and mind. If you look on it as an invisible entity in its own right, you're getting close to the truth. Some pain bodies are obnoxious but relatively harmless. For example, like a child that won't stop whining. Others are vicious and destructive monsters, true demons. Some are physically violent, some are more emotionally violent. Some will attack people around you or close to you, while others may attack you. Thoughts and feelings you have about your life then become deeply negative and destructive. Illnesses and accidents are often caused in this way. So he goes on from here. It's really a fascinating chapter, but I don't want to read you the whole chapter. But this is what he says. The pain body consists of trapped life energy that is split off from your total energy and has temporarily become autonomous. If you are able to stay alert and present when pain arises, watching whatever you feel within, rather than being taken over by it, a rapid transmutation of past pain becomes possible. Now, when I read that years and years ago, this is not a new book, one of the things that my pain body centers around is anger. I don't really know why. I've decided that some of it is definitely ancestral, being 98% Irish, and, you know, they had a lot of people conquer them, and it tends to make you really angry, especially when they starve you, and you have to leave your country to get away from them, right? So there's that. But whatever the reason, the pain body of anger has seemed at times autonomous. If any of you also have anger as one of the features of this, you know that you can be going along just fine, and then something will trigger that anger, and you become someone unlike your normal self. Let's put it that way. And so I've worked for years on that, and trying to become aware of the trigger and the feelings that were starting to arise, so that I would not turn into a demon and say things that I would regret for decades, you know. And we all have this kind of thing, whether it's around anger or fear or you name it. So it was a real blessing when Thich Nhat Hanh came into my life, the Zen monk, who began to talk about working with, he didn't call it the pain body, but that's what a lot of Buddhist practice works with. And he began to talk about how when a mother has a baby and she's really, really longing to read the novel that she's been waiting to read during nap time, she puts the baby, puts the baby down, very carefully puts the baby down. Closes the door. There's the novel. Make a cup of tea, sit down, and open the book. Wah! Oh, wait. Maybe they'll go back to sleep. Wah! And on it goes, right? And so the mother, if it's a good mother, gets up, puts the novel down, goes into the room, picks the baby up. And what Thich Nhat Hanh says is that the moment that baby is picked up, relief is starting to happen for the baby, because the baby's not alone with whatever's going on. And the mother then once she's got the baby, begins to check, is there something pinching the baby? Is the baby wet? Does the baby have poop? On you go with the litany to try to figure out what's upset the baby. And if you're lucky as a mother or a father, you figure it out, you fix it, and you put the baby back down. Sometimes it doesn't work that way. But so what Thich Nhat Hanh said about that is we need to do that for ourselves. That when something arises in us that is difficult to manage emotionally or physically even, the very first thing we need to do is become fully present with it. Now that sounds obvious, doesn't it? But think about the last time something really difficult happened for you. Just really think about it for a minute. And if you're like me, the tendency is to try to cover that up with something else, to run away from it. So food is a favorite of mine. I don't know about you. Likewise, playing little games on my phone, that's a good one. Distract. Read, dive into a book, distract. Go walking so you don't have to think about it, right? Whatever you do, it's to not pick up the baby of your own feelings, not deal with it. And yet, when we're able to be fully present in the now, like Tolle says, that's the moment where rapid transmutation of pain can happen because we're with it, we're holding it. So that's a powerful place to be because that invokes the gap, the place where something different can arise. Now I'm going to switch gears for a minute. I'm out of time. Do you mind if I go for another 5 or 10 minutes? Probably 5. There's another thing that really helps us, and it has to do with the song that the Sweet Goodbyes sang. And it has to do with social isolation and community. And so another heavy hitter is Lisa Rankin. She's written Mind Over Medicine, very, very beautiful book. She's a medical doctor that, out of her own journey, realized that Western medicine didn't have all the answers, and so began to look into other ways of holding people and their pain. So one of the things that she discovered in her research about people being healthy was the placebo effect. And I mean, it was something that every medical doctor knew about, but never really, it felt random, and so it wasn't something that you could sort of elicit in traditional ways of thinking. So she knew about it, and she began to really dive into the research and realized that it sometimes accounted for up to 50% of the healings that happened in controlled studies where people were given a sugar pill or they were given an antidepressant and things like that. So that was one thing. And then she began to do research on how people could be healthy beyond Western medicine. And this is the story she found. Turns out that loneliness can make you sicker than smoking cigarettes. And being part of a supportive community can increase your life expectancy. Let me take you back to a time, to Roseto, Pennsylvania. In 1961, a town where a community of Italian immigrants settled together in an enclave that recreated the old country in the New World. Like its namesake in the mountains of southern Italy, the village of Roseto, Pennsylvania, clings to a forested ridge. This one is in the Poconos, where a group of Italians who first set sail for the New World in 1882 came in search of a better life. Because of its remoteness, few outsiders make their way into the village. In the daytime, you'll find ghost town empty streets because the children are all in school and the men and the women of Roseto are working long, tedious shifts at either the stone quarry or the blouse factory, trying to earn enough money to send their kids to college. 2-story stone houses built along the main street of Garibaldi Avenue are clustered on the rocky hillside. Our Lady of Mount Carmel Church, which came to life when the inspiring and enterprising young priest, Father Pasquale Danisco, took over, towers over the other buildings. Danisco can be credited with much of the success of the town of Roseto. He encouraged the townspeople to plant crops, raise pigs, grow grapes, set up spiritual societies, and plan celebratory festivals. Soon thereafter, schools, shops, the blouse factory, and other evidence of culture sprang to life. In the evening, you'll see the village of Roseto comes alive as people return from work, strolling along the village's main street, stopping to gossip with the neighbors and maybe share a glass of wine before heading home to change into dinner clothes. As the church bell rings, you'll see women gathering together in communal kitchens, preparing classic Italian feasts, while men push tables together in anticipation of the nightly ritual that gathers the community together over heaping piles of pasta, Italian sausage, meatballs fried in lard, and free-flowing vino. You might notice this doesn't match the diet that most of us are trying to follow. As a community of new immigrants surrounded by English and Welsh neighbors who turn up their noses at the Italians, the people of Roseto in 1961 are forced to look out for one another. Multi-generational homes are the norm. Everyone goes to church together. This is not a pitch, by the way. Neighbors wander in and out of one another's kitchens regularly. Holidays are joyously celebrated together. The work ethic in the community is strong. Not only does everyone work in Roseto, they share a common mission, a life purpose that fuels their often backbreaking work. They dream of a better life for their children. The people of Roseto take care of one another. Nobody is left to struggle alone. Roseto in 1961 is living proof of the power of the clan. This little Pennsylvania town might have gone largely unnoticed by the rest of the world had it not been brought to the attention of Dr. Stuart Wolf, a professor at the University of Oklahoma School of Medicine, who had a summer home in the Poconos, not far away. One summer, Dr. Wolf was asked to speak to the local medical society, and after the talk, one of the local docs invited him out for a drink. Over a couple beers, the local doc mused about how strange it was that heart disease seemed far less prevalent in the little town of Roseto than the adjoining town of Bangor. Dr. Wolf was all ears. This conversation took place when heart attacks were happening in epidemic proportions, ringing in as the number one cause of death in men under 65. So intrigued, Dr. Wolf did his research, scanning the death certificates from Roseto and comparing them to the death certificates from surrounding towns over 10 years. Amazingly, the men of Bangor had heart attacks paralleling national average. In fact, it was, but the heart attack rate in Roseto was half the national average. In fact, it was nearly zero for men under 65. Remember that lard and the meatballs? But it wasn't just heart disease. The death rate from all causes was 30 to 35% lower than the average in Roseto. So he looked into it and began to really track the people and to see if it was something in their blood type, something in their diet, something, on and on he went. But it wasn't any of that. Because unable to, afford a lot of things, they were relying on lard, and they routinely had pizza with sausage and pepperoni and salami and eggs, and actually 41% of their diet was fat. So it wasn't that. So he went on, and he evaluated the geography. He looked at, their genes, and he realized that it wasn't that. It wasn't their genetic makeup. It wasn't their diet. It wasn't their geography at all. Instead, he concluded that it was the tight-knit community that was a better predictor of heart health than cholesterol or tobacco or anything else. So he finished his research and studying this village just as the golden age of Roseto was ending. Because all that sacrifice working at the stone quarry and the blouse factory meant that every single child in Roseto was sent to college, right? And the young people went off. They started coming back to Roseto sometimes with new dreams, new ideas. They married non-Italians. They strayed from the church. They joined country clubs. They moved into single-family suburban homes with fences and pools. So the multi-generational family was disbanded. The community lifestyle had to shift gears from nightly celebrations to more of the typical every man for himself philosophy. And by 1971, when heart attack rates in other parts of the country were dropping, Roseto had its first heart attack death, and within a very short space of time, met the national average. The reason I bring that to you is it's stunning to me, the power of community. And recently, I've heard stories of people who, in fact, I'm working with a young woman right now who has no family, very, very traumatic family upbringing, has no friends, and is in a health crisis. A single mom with one kid, no one to help. It happens a lot in our culture, which is why it's been so incredibly important to me when I got to Bellingham to bring this spiritual community into community, because there's some health benefits, folks, in a big way. But it isn't just spiritual community, because, some spiritual communities are super toxic. So it's not that. It's supportive spiritual communities. It's also any other community that's created. And every social scientist, every marriage and family therapist, every psychologist knows the truth of this. We're taught in grad school to help our clients develop community as part of a social network that will hold them when things aren't going so great. So my last question to you, and thank you for giving me the extra time, is how's that going for you? And I mean that really. Because I know that the reason this young woman that I'm working with is like this is it was so traumatic. She has a hard time trusting anybody, right? And so the isolation is now impacting health. So if that's the case for any of you, I would encourage you to do the work, to look at the pain body, to remain present as it arises when you're around people and the trigger goes off and you say, these people can't be trusted, I need to flee. And to give yourself, even if it's only a few minutes of standing in that, being very aware of it, so that maybe the transmutation of that pain can begin to happen. There's all kinds of reasons why community has fallen away as an idea of importance in our culture. But I see a lot of heads nodding, and what I really need to tell you is it's critical. It's critical not only for your health and mine, but it's critical for the world. The more we can establish healthy communities that support one another and walk each other home, stand with each other, help each other, bring the meal when someone's sick, watch the child, do whatever's needed, the more the world becomes healthy. And the healthier the world, the less likely it is that we're going to end up all in a really bad place with a dog-eat-dog situation and every person for themselves. If we learn how to work with people, and people are irritating, you may have noticed. Not you, of course. But, when you're out in the world and you don't have, people that have the like ideas you do, they can be really challenging. But isn't that what spiritual practice is all about? To help us love one another and build communities of support. So I don't know where you are in your life, but I bet you if you look deeply at it, there's ways you can help be a weaver in different communities that you are part of. And it's so critical that I'm going to do a prayer for that, and then we'll close. So know with me as I know. There is one Spirit that dwells within all things. It is uniquely manifesting its nature through each of us. We have come into this incarnation to give rise to that unique expression. And so we each have bountiful and beautiful gifts to offer in community. Whatever may be standing in the way of not only offering support, but accepting support, I realize now is learned nonsense. And I let it go. I allow instead a new idea, a great idea, an idea that really moves from the interior world that I live in and you live in into outer expression, an idea that we are here with our unique gifts and talents to support one another in living fully, in expressing fully, in loving fully. And I realize that each person has their own unique niche in this, a way of being that helps other people, sometimes without even realizing that the gift is being offered. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for awakening again to the realization that I too have something to bring, something to offer, and also something to receive. And I'm grateful knowing that the giving and receiving is now happening in even greater ways by means of me. If this is true for you, if you accept this prayer, just in your mind say, yes. And then say with me, and so it is. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Our ushers are preparing, our patient ushers who had the zero sign out 10 minutes ago, are preparing for the offertory, and they're coming up with baskets. And if you feel drawn to make a contribution to the center so that we can keep being healthy and vibrant community, we appreciate it very much.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the way. Turning, we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the way. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love. Turning, we shall learn to lead in love. It is time. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the way. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love. Great turning, we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love.
Well, that was about perfect. And one of my favorite songs. I'm going to introduce you to a new steering committee that we have that is responsible for bringing forth new ideas for events and supporting them. So would the steering committee please come up, those members who are here, and they're going to tell you what they're up to a little bit. And this is only a couple of them. Here, Robin.
Okay, hi. I'm so excited to be talking to all of you. Hello, hello, hello. Okay. I am. Is it not on?
It's on.
Okay, I got to just put my mouth up and kiss you with it.
Yes.
So, okay. So, we got together and we're very, very excited about 2023. One is we're going to be introducing a lot of new programs for you, but Reverend Andrea did an excellent job of leading into our presentation. Thank you for that. I think we should rename this the Weavers Pop-Ups. So what this is a new event concept that we're going to be doing the entire year. Actually, you're going to be doing it. So here's how this idea works. How many of you have ever heard of a pop-up before? Awesome. So sometimes they're entertainment events. Sometimes they're like somebody throws a spontaneous dinner, something like that. It can be really anything. So the way this is going to work is you are going to come up with fabulous ideas. And these fabulous ideas are going to be translated into events you're willing to host. So that means you are the creator, you are the person who actually manifests this, and then you host it. You're the show. It can be anything, and we wanted to illustrate how this works in detail by putting one on for you. So the first one's going to be at my house, and there's a sign-up sheet in the back, and there's only room for 15 people for it. But basically, what you're going to do, the first one's a full moon fireside. So it's not really going to be on the full moon. This is in preparation of the full moon. So I'm going to be giving a talk at this fireside. Renee, are you here? I didn't see you yet.
She's there.
Oh, Renee, stand up. You can join us up here if you'd like. Renee's a gong performer, and she's going to be playing a ceremonious gong for us. We're going to do a share circle, and then it's all going to be followed by s'mores with what do they call it?
Vegan marshmallows.
Well, we have vegan marshmallow options, but also slave-free chocolate. Ooh. So any of you who know that they use a lot of children for creating chocolate, so we have a slave-free chocolate, and we'll be talking about intention, consciousness, and how we bring light to the new era. So. Anyway, this is an example of a form that you would fill out if you wanted to host an event. And so I put in the date, the time, the description of what it's going to be. You put in any details. Like for my event, I'm asking that everybody carpool. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's Friday, November 4th. Sorry, that's a mistake. I made so many mistakes preparing this. I can't even list them all. We must have changed the date 3 times because I kept making mistakes. Anyway, you're allowed to make mistakes because you have to put your event in 4 weeks in advance. That gives you 1 week to make mistakes that we can correct. So, if you make mistakes on your event like I just did, clean it up and send it to them. But what you need to do is give the staff here, Clara especially, 4 weeks before your proposed event. Also give more than 1 date that you can do it, because the calendar might be full for when you want to do it. Okay? If you need to use the hall or the grounds to do it, then you need to coordinate with Clara and find out if that's possible. But these events could be any number of things. In my event, you're going to be coming to my house. I just built an outdoor fire ring. I have a beautiful property. We're going to have a wonderful time together, and I'm going to make it up as we go, and it's going to be great. Here's some other event ideas from Jean.
Just put it right up to your mouth.
Just kiss it.
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to say that the steering committee also includes Jen Brown and Susan Jancic. And we're really having fun. And I've never met 2 people that thought more alike. You must be concrete sequential. There you go. Anyway, I'm sure you guys are thinking of a lot of events. For example, Dougie, you could do a joyride. That would be fun. That would, and the idea of this is to have fun and to charge money for admission to raise funds for the center. the Sweet Goodbyes could do a living room concert for you and 20 of your closest friends. We could have a bunko party at my house. These are just some ideas that occur to me, and I'm sure you're going to have many other better ones. So I'm looking forward to attending your pop-ups. Shelley and Steve could do gingerbread houses. You know, they're really good at that. So those are my ideas for now.
All right, so raise your hand if you have an idea. Awesome. Let's hire. Stand up if you have an idea. Just stand up really quick. I'm going to ask 3 of you. What's your idea?
My idea is to perform music.
Perform music. What's your idea?
A presentation by Dr. Sarah Kettleman on how to age with great health.
Fantastic. What's your idea? Nice. Nice. What's your idea? Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you. You can sit down. So you see how possible this is? Now, we especially want to allocate part of the money that we're raising for Andrea's opportunity to get a sabbatical we all promised her. So if you would like to designate where you want your money to go, that's a great idea. If you just want it to go to the center budget in general, you can do that. But I'm sure that the office and I am happy, well, actually the entire steering committee is happy to help you develop your idea and implement it to the best of our ability. So thank you for your time. Any questions? Yes? Well,
Yeah.
so we were suggesting that instead of creating an online form for this, you would just submit it on a piece of paper, and then we can translate it as needed online to announce whatever the events are. So you're going to need to keep looking online. You have a comment about that? You can do it online. Okay. Well, we'll figure it out. We will figure it out, and you will learn more as time passes. Any other questions?
Yes.
Yes, in the back. It is actually there right now.
So feel free.
If you have an idea right now and a date in your mind, a couple dates in your mind when you think you can do this event, think the whole calendar year. You can be thinking ahead for 9 months from now. That's cool. Pick up a form and fill out your ideas. And it's also really fun. Remember, we're weavers now, so we can change this to weaver pop-ups. So how can you weave community members, maybe that you know or don't even know? So I don't know how many of you know that I'm new here, because it really shows, right? So, so I've only been coming about 3 months, I think, and look where I am. See what happened? It's her fault. And if you want to get involved, we would love you to be involved, and we're going to have another event in the future that's going to explain to you how you can get more involved with the events committee too. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. So I hope you'll get involved. It's a really, really fun committee, and they've got some great ideas beyond pop-ups. I wanted to tell you that our workshop next Sunday at 12:30 that's being presented by Dr. Melissa and Reverend Z. We have over 20 people, and you're invited to come if it's something that speaks to you. They are advocates for John Sarno, Dr. John Sarno's work, and a very powerful work. His most famous book is Healing Back Pain, but the principles that he is illustrating have to do with the gap and have to do with being very aware of the triggers and working with them. So it's a wonderful workshop that's going to be taking place next week. It's 2 hours. You're invited to come and hear them speak next week at the 10:30 service. They are friends of mine, and they are completely wild. They're wild. They're very different than me, and they're really cool. They'll be doing everything. They'll be doing the music, they'll be doing the talks, and I hope you'll enjoy them very much. If you're interested in coming to 10:30 and then coming to the workshop, you're encouraged to bring a lunch of your own to have between when the service ends and when they'll start. If you'd like to sign up for this workshop, you can register online on our website, and that way we can tell them how many people are coming and they can prepare. I wanted to tell you about this altar. This is part of our Day of the Dead celebration. Thank you to Heidi and Wendy and Cheryl and probably Dan too. They have set this up as an opportunity for any of us who have lost people in our life, and I imagine there's not a single one of us that hasn't had that happen. If you would like to bring a picture or a memento of someone who has passed in your life or an animal that's passed that was dear to you, you can do that. You can come during the week from 10 to 2, and we'll let you into the sanctuary, and you can put it on the altar then. You can bring it next Sunday and place it then. And the event that will be actually celebrating our dead is happening on November 2nd in the evening, and it starts at 6. We have wonderful stuff happening. The Threshold Singers are coming, and you can even, bring your pictures or your mementos that evening if you would like. We'd love you to come. It's totally free. It's just an opportunity. Our culture is pretty bad about really recognizing the power of our loved ones and that we still carry them. So this is our way of getting better at it. We also have something happening on November 6th I wanted to talk to you about just briefly, and then I'm going to have Amber talk about her ukulele class, and then we'll let you have one last song and go. The Earth Stewards, who are part of our community, are hosting a conversation. And as you know, we have learned as sacred humans that some of the holiday traditions that we were participating in are not necessarily earth-friendly. And so many of us have been up-leveling what we do for the holidays. And we're inviting those of you who have done that to come and be part of the discussion, but also those of you who are curious about ways you can up-level your holiday traditions so that they're more earth-friendly and still very rewarding and beautiful. So you don't have to sacrifice them. You just have to change them a little bit to make them much more powerful for all of us to be able to live not only sustainably, but to renew the earth. So that conversation is happening November 6th after the Sunday service, and we hope you'll think about joining it. Ukulele.
Yeah, Deb, you got something?
Oh, yes. It does. The conversation will be in the classroom, and the practitioners will be in here. Yeah.
All right, if you happen to have any previous ukulele experience or musical experience, and you're feeling courageous to hop in on a level 2 ukulele class with us here at CSL on Tuesday nights beginning the first week of November, not the 1st, but like the 8th, there's one of those. Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock, we meet here. You can talk to me about what it would mean to come in on a level 2 class, but really, level 2 to me just means you've had maybe like 6 weeks of some previous experience, or you have previous musical experience. You know a few chords on the ukulele, you can join us. And I'd love for you to talk to me about that if you're interested. We're going to sing out into this day now, are we?
Yeah, we sure are. Want to
Okay,
stand up
cool.
and we'll sing together?
All righty. All I love is all around me. All around me there is love. Like a sea of open water, and the trees that rise above. I know that I am worthy of the gifts that love can bring. today. We'll see you again next week.